Alright guys, today we're going to continue looking at logs. Today you're going to be solving for x. There's going to be three different cases or three different scenarios that you're going to be coming across today. But for each one of these, you're going to start off by rewriting them in exponential form, which we've done in the past, so we're going to continue looking at that today. So the first scenario we're going to have is like this first one here, log base 2 of 32 equals x. So we're solving for x. So first of all, we're going to rewrite this log in the form of an exponential like we did the last couple of days here. So this is now going to be written as 2 to the x equals 32. So again, all I did was rewrite the log in the form of an exponential. Now what I want to do is solve for x. 2 to the what is going to equal to 32. Well, in this case that would be 5. 2 to the 5th equals 32. So it's very similar, or basically the same thing that we did the last couple of days here. You're going to solve for x. Alright, so let's look at another example just like that last one there. For this one here, we got log base 3 of 9 equals x. So again, the first thing I want to do is rewrite this in the form of an exponential. So this log now becomes 3 to the x equals 9. So I'm solving for x. What does this exponent have to be in order to give me a 9? Now that would be 2, because 3 squared is going to equal to 9. Let's try one more like that. Here we have log base 9 of 1 over 81 equals x. So just like I did in the last two examples, we're going to start by rewriting them as an exponential. So this now becomes 9 to the x equals 1 over 81. Now remember, this is going to be a little bit tricky here because we got a fraction. So this exponent that I'm looking for is going to have to be a negative number. So in this case, that's going to be x is going to equal to a negative 2, because 9 to the negative 2 is going to equal 1 over 81. So when you got a fraction, chances are your exponent is going to be a negative number. Alright, so the next couple of examples are going to be a little bit different. This time the x is going to be in our base. So this example here, we have log base x of 32 equals 2, which means when I write this as an exponential, that exponential is going to look like this. X squared equals 32. So notice the x is now our base. And what I want to know is, what is this x? What does this base have to be? What squared is going to equal to 32? Well, remember, we solved quadratics before. Anytime you have a square, the way you undo a square is by square rooting. So all I'm going to do is square root that 32. Okay, so what is the square root of 32? Well, if you go to your calculator, the square root of 32 is approximately 5.66. Okay, so again, all you're doing is taking the square root of 32. Alright, so notice this example also has the x in our base. So when I rewrite this as an exponential, that exponential looks like this right here. X to the third equals 64. So what I want to know is, what is this base? What does x have to be so that when I cube it, I get a 64? Well, kind of like what we did with the last example, the opposite of squaring something was to take the square root. Well, here I'm cubing, and the opposite of cubing would be the cube root. So what is the cube root of 64? Well, if you go to your calculator, the cube root of 64 is equal to a 4. Therefore, x equals 4. Let's go ahead and try one more like this. Again, x is our base, and I want to write this as an exponential. So the exponential for this log would be x to the 5/2 power equals to 32. Now what I want to do is solve for x. So x to the 5/2 power equals 32. What does this x have to be? Well, we're going to undo this. Okay, and the way we're going to undo this is we're going to raise that 32 to the reciprocal power. Just meaning, take the fraction that you have here and flip it. So if we flip 5 over 2, that becomes 2/5. So what is 32 to the 2/5 power? Well, if you go to your calculator and type that in, 32 to the 2/5 power is going to equal to 4. Therefore, x equals 4. Alright, last case that we're going to run into here is when the x is the argument. Okay, so notice on this time, or this example here, we have log base 32 of x equals to 2. So when I write this as an exponential, that exponential is going to look like this right here. 32 squared equals x. Okay, so all I did was write that log as an exponential, just like I've been doing with all the others. So this should be a little bit easier for us because I'm solving for x. If I want to solve for x, all I got to do is figure out what is 32 squared. So if I go to my calculator, 32 squared is 1024. Therefore, the answer to this one is 1024. Let's go ahead and try another one just like that last one. Here we got log base 9 of x equals to 3. So if I write that as an exponential, that exponential is 9 cubed equals x. So I'm solving for x. If I want to know what x is, I've got to figure out what is 9 to the third power. Well, if you go to your calculator, 9 to the third power is 729. And our last example here, we got log base 7 of x equals 4. So we'll start off by rewriting this as an exponential, and that exponential is going to be 7 to the 4th equals x. So if I want to know what x is, I got to know what 7 to the 4th is. Okay, so 7 to the 4th would equal 2,401. Alright, so these are some examples. This is the first part. This is part A of our assignments. You're going to go ahead and take a look at the notes, and then your assignment will be due on Monday. Okay, so make sure you do that assignment. If you got any questions or you get stuck, feel free to leave a comment in Google Classroom, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.